Hi there, this is Tom Horseman. I'm Horsefem on Discord and on the leaderboards, and welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Speedrunning Inscryption Any %. In this video, I'll cover Act 1, and I'll be explaining both the specific tricks and the general strategies that we use in this act. I assume that anyone who's speedrunning the game or wanting to start speedrunning the game has already played through it casually, so I'm not going to explain the basic mechanics of the game. I'll just be explaining the speedrunning elements of them. I'll be trying to play like comparable to my usual pace, but there's a couple points where important mechanics that are a little bit complicated will come up, and when those crop up, I'll be slowing down in order to explain them clearly. Okay, so let's get into it. Here's the tutorial, which is not timed in the speedrun. Our speedrun timer begins on the first line of dialogue after the tutorial. So I'll use this time to explain kind of the general path of the act. So in Act 1, we have to die 2 times before we can find the film roll, which we use to actually defeat Leshy and progress past the act. So our first 2 lives are going to be about dying as fast as possible while setting up for our 3rd life, where we actually want to win, to be as strong as possible. One thing you may have noticed is that I've been ending these turns without actually moving my mouse over to ring the bell. If you hit spacebar, regardless of where your cursor is, you'll end your turn, which saves us a bunch of time not having to look over and click it every time. So the timer begins when you were lost in the forest. And this first life, we basically can only do 2 things before we die. We're going to set up as playable of a death card as we can, and we're going to open the safe. That's about it. So in that first card selection, I picked the Adder out of those 2 cards because it has the Touch of Death ability, which is very helpful in the final fight against Leshy when and the Moon. So in the off chance that our death card from life 1 it shows up in life 3 when we're trying to win, we want to have that sigil on it. As you can see here, I'm just not playing cards and using spacebar to end my turn. So here I'm opening the safe. The code is 273, and the reason I'm opening it right now is because if I open it in this life, I don't have to watch the animation of the safe door opening, and I can just come back to it in my next life and it will already be open. We'll be doing something similar with the cupboard in life 2. We'll be opening it up and then immediately going on to do something else, so that in life 3 it's already open for us without having us watch. It saves a tiny bit of time, but you know, that's speedrunning. So here in that second card selection, I picked the Sparrow, which is the second card. It has airborne or whatever they call flying. I think that's slightly more powerful than the other alternative, which is the Wolf Cub, but unlike the Touch of Death one from the Adder, I think it's very marginal or situational. And you can that's up to personal preference. Anyway, yet again, we have lost our fight, successfully died. Congratulations, us. And we get to make our death card now. Our first death card is going to be pretty much the same every single first life. It's going to cost 2 blood, it's going to be a 3/2, and it's going to have the 2 sigils that you selected. So Touch of Death and whatever. Our second death card can vary a lot more. Sometimes it's very strong, sometimes it's absolutely unplayable. But this one's consistent. Oh, whoops. So it might look like I didn't input a name there. Spacebar is considered a character for the name. You do need to put 1 character in. It's just my hand's usually hovering over space already, because we use it to end the turn. So often my death cards are named space. Okay, So life 2 is really important, even though we're going to be dying quickly. We're going to be setting up the sigil that we'll use on our squirrels in life 3. So part of that setup is going to be in this first fight using both these items before we lose the fight, so that we see a full set of 3 items in the backpack that's coming up. So the 2 sigils that we are interested in picking up are the unkillable sigil from the cockroach, which will make our squirrels return to our hand when they die for any reason, including sacrifice, or the worthy sacrifice sigil from the black goat, which will make our squirrels sacrifice for 3 blood. Both of them are very powerful. Um, the black goat one is a little bit faster, but you're not going to be offered it every time. So here again, I just do that and then don't watch the thing open. Okay, sorry. To continue to my past thought. The black goat is a little bit faster, but you're not always going to be presented with it. So I'm actually going to be covering the cockroach strat even if we see black goat, because I think when you're learning the speedrun, it's more important to have a route that you can always do so that you can practice your routing, your mechanics, all that. And rather than to just like try and chase world record right off the bat. And also, um, I think the Blackout one is a little bit easier anyway, so you can figure it out yourself once if you can figure out this one. So here this third card is Cockroach from this card selection, so I'll be grabbing that. And here in this backpack, I'm looking for 2 items, either the Hoggy Bank or the Black Goat, which we did not get this time. But as I mentioned, I wasn't going to be taking anyway. So we've already lost 1 candle. In this fight, we are going to be trying to set up our sigil. So the way that the totems work when the woodcarver presents them to you is the sigils that are on them are based off of what sigils you have played already and activated. So what we're going to be doing is trying to find our cockroach, play it, but it's not enough just to play it. We also have to activate its unkillable sigil. So what I'll do here is I will use the Hoggy Bank and then sacrifice it, and then it goes to my hand. And now, when in our next life, we will see that unkillable sigil and be able to make a totem that has a squirrel head and an unkillable body. So now that I've set that up, I'll pass and die. Depending on how that fight goes, you might have to deal a little bit of damage to stall it out if you haven't drawn your cockroach, or make some other plays, but regardless, you know, you're trying to get your cockroach or your black goat into play, and then either if it's the cockroach, it just needs to die somehow. If it's the black goat, you need to sacrifice it for something. One other thing that's really important is you want to make sure that you don't put any other sigils into play, such as the Stinkbug Stinky or the Bullfrog's Mighty Leap. Because if you do, it will mess up the totem manipulation. Alright, so now we're on to life 3, which is more fun because we actually get to play the game and try and win. So there's a couple more like escape room elements we're going to do first. Or during the act, I suppose. First thing we'll do is go over here and we're going to open these cabinets, being very careful not to actually pick up these garbage cards. Oh, what have I done wrong? There we go. We want to keep our deck very focused and only have strong cards. We're going to try and keep it very lean. So we pick up the caged wolf and the squirrel head. We'll need the caged wolf for the story. Not bad. You're happy with either wolf cub or wolf. Alpha and Coyote, as all the expensive bone cards, can really mess up your starting hands. So you can see here that we got presented with the unkillable sigil on our squirrels, which is going to be super helpful for us. Really strong. Okay. So with the unkillable squirrel, you'll see it returns to my hand, and we can use that to kind of play a 1-cost thing, and then from there play a 2-cost thing. The other really nice thing about the unkillable squirrels is that there are going to be fights, especially earlier on before you can assemble 1-turn kills, where you can use your squirrels defensively. You can put them in front of a, ground creature like this, and that let us win that fight quite a bit faster. You'll also notice that, as I'm playing, ooh, Magpie is great. I love Magpie. So, I'll explain why in a second. I'm gonna just say one thing quickly about teeth and overkill damage. When I first started speedrunning, I was like, rares are really good, they can help you win fast, so I was trying to maximize overkill damage. I have found that you win a lot faster when you don't worry about that. Just try and win your fights as fast as possible. Whatever else happens is fine. Here, I'm just gonna use these pliers. Another thing is that even though rares are good, golden pelts are really bad. All the pelts clog up your hand. They can really mess up your starts. So even when I have a ton of teeth, I often just don't buy the golden pelt. Okay, to go back to why I love Magpie, even though it wasn't stellar there, there's going to come a point where our deck has a couple cards that are much, much stronger than others, and having additional copies of that through the Magpie is really nice, especially with the unkillable squirrels. You can often chain together your plays in a way that is very, very powerful. So for example there, I could have placed the squirrel there to get a tooth, but it takes time. I just won't bother. I just want to win the fights quickly and cleanly. Obviously, I'm going to be behind my PBs, but I just think it's interesting to keep track of how I'm going while trying to explain everything. Wow, none of these are very good, are they? I guess I'll take a black goat. So we want to get rid of dross like the bullfrog and to a lesser extent the stink bug. Just any cards that are bad. Although of course if you have strong sigils like Bifurcated Strike, it's more of a priority to put those on powerful targets than it is to get rid of your weak cards. You want to make strong cards first, but once you have some strong cards, you want to draw them as often as possible. Okay, so I'm really glad that we saw the Caged Wolf here, because it's going to let me show off a really cool trick that we can do during the prospector fight. So usually the caged wolf, it dies, it turns into a wolf, and then we can go do another puzzle, an escape room puzzle in the... oops, I should have put the stink bug there. That was a somewhat irrelevant blunder. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So we would uncage the wolf in combat, and then we would be able to grab the wolf statue, get the dagger, move on with the plot. However, usually when the prospector enters this second phase, he turns all your cards into gold, and it's bad and it's slow. But when he kills the caged wolf, it still turns into a wolf, and basically just wins you the rest of the fight from there. So it's really, you know, if you get it, it's nice. If you don't, it's fine. There are plenty of other times and ways in which you can uncage the wolf, but this is one of the most efficient ways to do it. And if it comes up, that's wonderful. So you can see here, I ended up like wasting 2 turns because I didn't play my stink bug on turn 1. But I would say otherwise that would have been an excellent prospector fight. All of these are quite good. Yuli's much better if you've got the Black Goat Sigil. You're looking for just any expensive nonsense there that wins super fast. So, you know, Grizzlies, Great Whites, Yulis. For us, getting to 4 is going to be a little steep. Okay, so I don't usually love taking bone cards because they can mess up your starting hands if you can't play them. But we are actually going to get another really sweet interaction. If you give the Bone Lord a Black Goat, it is a worthy sacrifice. So we're going to start from here on every fight with 8 bones. So bone cards just got a lot more playable. Usually I rate them quite low. And we'll be using that to our advantage here, in fact. Because now we could just play that stink bug. Oh, I guess we beat the prospector. Like I said, I'm not really worried about my splits. And then 4 damage. Raven Egg's fine. Not amazing, but it'll do. Maybe I'll somehow get this thing to 5 power, I don't know. Sure, I think this is actually the fastest way to do that. Oh, this has 4 power. I didn't have to spend quite as much time, but... Okay, so I like these cave ones a lot more than getting random cards, because either the cards are a little bit better, which is nice, or very often you'll get to a point where your deck is strong enough that you actually like try and intentionally fail them by doing things that you're bad at in order to keep your deck lean. I think that our deck could still use a little bit more power, so I figured I would try and pass it this time. I'll go ahead and throw this on something that costs 1. I'm not going to do it on this stoat because there's a manipulation that we'll do. If we can, where we can set up the stoat to always be in our starting hand on the final fight, and if we can give it the Touch of Death ability, that might be really strong. Okay, so you can see our deck's starting to come together. We're winning fights on turn 1 now. It's exactly where you want to be. I think because of that, I'm going to choose the one that I feel is most likely to fail. Because I don't think we need like random sigil cards. And we're about to pick up a second 1-turn kill card. This is the most common one that you'll pretty much get in every single run. The Mycologist will combine the wolf that you started with and then the wolf that you uncaged and give you a 6 power creature that is very, very strong. Often wins you turn 1. Winning on turn 1 is obviously always wonderful because it's fast and you want to go fast. But on floor 3, it becomes extremely important because the fights get really difficult and messy there. And if you don't win on turn 1, sometimes you don't win until like turn like 4 or 5. With like a lot of like trading back and forth. It's super slow. So the Angler has 2 gimmicks. The first one is probably the most like distinctive one where he steals your stuff, but that actually almost never comes up within the speedruns because by the time that you get to this stage in the game, usually your deck is powerful enough that you can avoid that by just killing quickly. The second thing is these bait buckets, and that's where you know, if you kill them, they'll spawn Great Whites, often kill the thing that killed the bait bucket. So usually what you'll end up doing is either using Bifurcated Strike or flying to just avoid that part of it. Oh, great. We're definitely taking Long Elk here. Or you're doing what I did, which is sacrifice the 2 things in front to play something else powerful. So the reason I was like quite pleased to see that that Long Elk is because it's going to let us give Touch of Death to our Stoat, which I alluded to earlier, make our last fight quite a bit cleaner. Alright, I mean passing is fine, probably. None of these are exciting. Very atypical that I would be taking this expensive blood card, but again, we have the 8 bones to start every fight with, so it might actually be really strong. If you have a full pack, you get a pack rat at the shop. I don't actually want a pack rat right now, but it's not terrible either. Okay, so this third floor, first thing is that it is pretty tough. The fights are really hard, and often you'll have to, if you get like a kind of sluggish draw, you'll have to use your items to break out of it. The second thing is we absolutely have to go grab the dagger now. Okay, this is getting a little bit heavy with the bones, but I'm still going to take the bone card, and from here on I probably won't be taking any more. Okay, yeah. So before I get to the boss of this floor, which is the Trapper and Trader, I need to make sure that I go up, grab the dagger, otherwise I won't be able to continue with the story. Okay, so we've gotten modestly lucky, although I will say that I think our deck is strong. And we've gotten turn 1 kills every time, so we don't have to worry about this. So as you can see, turn 1 kills are what we're trying to set up, and we have a couple ways to do that, either just like efficient draws, or our overpowered wolf. So here, I knew that we had this shop coming up here, and we have the second pack rat. Sometimes what I would do in a battle before then is use up some of my items to see fresh ones, but I have a mycologist coming up here, so I don't really mind fusing our two pack rats and making them a little bit stronger. So that was my thinking there. Oh, right. Wow, this deck is strong. We've had like a wealth of options. Okay, and then here, before I forget... Ooh, actually, hold on. Now we can combine the pronghorns, which will be a lot better. We'll go grab the wolf statue, grab the dagger. Pretty clumsy movement, I will say. That's not been great. It's a little bit interesting how, like, the brain capacity of explaining things, like, makes some things, doesn't affect some things, and then others it really does. Mycologists are very, very good. Often make or break your fastest runs is like how often you see that you can set up powerful doubles. One of the main ways that you get to your like one-turn kills is mycologist. Okay, interesting. So we didn't see damage? No. Okay. That's fine. A turn 1 kill. So the trapper fight, the fastest way that you usually end up ending it is by getting like a 6-power wolf here, and then you just enter phase 2 immediately, at which point the trader fills the board and then gives you 1 wolf pelt, and you can trade that 1 wolf pelt as well as any others that you've accumulated for things that are on the board. So usually you'll just deal 6 damage or something, and then use your 1 wolf pelt that she gives you to clear this 1 slot, and then finish the fight again from there. This will actually be fine. So here, I'm going to use the dagger to deal myself, to take my eye out to deal Leshy 4 damage. And then, I'll enter phase 2 from there, because we still have a kill. When that comes up. So we have 2 wolf pelts here, which is nice because it gives us some insurance against burrowers. Ooh, more stinky, which ended up mattering. And now we deal 5 damage. And end the fight. So I definitely took some extra time explaining there, but there's many ways to improvise around the like really straightforward path to winning that quickly. I don't really need any of these. I guess I'll just take another pack rat that I don't need. So when you get the dagger, you'll often end up using it before this fight if your deck's a little bit weaker in order to power through one of the floor 3 fights. If you have it, if you still have it at the trader fight, you have to use it, otherwise you won't win, because we need to get Magnificus's Eye, which tells us to find salvation in the cuckoo clock, which we will go do in just a moment. So I'll stand up, go to the cuckoo clock, find the stunted wolf, and the film roll. And then I'm also going to, just for safety, grab the ring, which will help us in one of the upcoming trials. Okay. The fan can be really nice for one of the phases of the Leshy fight. When it's black here, you can actually start walking forward. Just save yourself a couple steps. So in the first fight, oh, here's what you grab the ring for. Oh, by the way, the ring is at 11 o'clock. So the boons that you're looking for are the draw 2 cards one, and the magpie ability that like lets you draw a specific card. The magpie's usually stronger because like at this point your deck is has a couple like really messed up cards, and drawing any one of those wins you the game much more likely. So you care more about that than like drawing 2 random cards. But they're both quite strong. And we'll be just fine here because we did successfully do this Touch of Death Stoat. So the way that that works is that the very first fight in which you have both the Stunted Wolf and the Stoat in your deck, you will draw them during that fight, and they will have a little conversation. So even if you end up using the dagger before the Leshy fight, you don't want to grab the Stunted Wolf until before then if you have this Touch of Death Sigil set up. So in this first phase, oh, that's pretty awkward. We actually don't have a turn 1 kill. That's fine. In this first phase, the Stoat will kill that Mole Man. So he starts with the Mole Man, and then he'll be playing random rare cards. The second phase will spawn a bunch of stumps and then some death cards. Okay, so from here, I believe yeah, okay, there was a cleaner win, but we don't have to worry about it. So in this phase, as I alluded to, the fan will win us the phase. And then in the third phase, he will play the Moon, which has a 40 health, which most decks can tear through at a reasonable pace, but why bother? You can just, if you can set this up, it is much, much better. So we kill the Moon, our 6-power Wolf tilts the scales, and we win the fight. So that fight can get pretty awkward if you don't kill quickly, because then he starts using the boss abilities, but if you assemble your deck well, that shouldn't happen too often. So just to kind of reiterate what like assembling your deck well means is, of course luck is part of this, right? But you want to have 1-turn kills as much as possible, which are either 3-power characters with bifurcated strike, 5+ power characters, or you can have just a really consistent deck that has a lot of affordable cards that are reasonably strong that you can play together, which is kind of where we were going with the Bones for a little while. And then the other thing that really helps that fight is that Touch of Death Sigil, if you can find it and get it onto the Stoat. I think that's everything for that. So anyway, that's Act 1. In our next video, we'll go to our new game and continue with Act 2. Um, yeah, I hope that was helpful. So just to kind of reiterate, um, the flow of Act 1 is you are going to be dying 2 times as quickly as possible. In your first death, you're just opening the safe and setting up a death card. In your second life, you are opening the cupboard and then you are setting up your sigils by either playing a cockroach or a black goat and then activating its ability. Either the cockroach dies or the black goat gets sacrificed. Life 3, um, you have to build a good deck, which I described earlier, and then you have to uncage the wolf, grab the dagger, use the dagger before by at latest the trapper fight, and then grab the film roll, and from there beat the moon. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Join us on Discord. I'll drop a link in the comment section. Bye.